listening to the Narrative Podcast with Halsey Allen. The Narrative Podcast is changing the narrative one episode at a time.
Hello. Welcome back to another all-new episode of the mighty Narrative Podcast. The Narrative Podcast is the home of original people peace, original people reciprocity, and original people culture. Welcome to the Narrative Podcast. I am your host, Halsey Allen. Welcome all my narrators. Hey, so I'm back up in you on Friday, 4th of July weekend. So, or Saturday, what did I say, Friday? Thursday was 4th of July. This week went by so fast, I don't know where my head's at. But, Thursday was the federally recognized holiday, but people is going to be popping off in them works tonight and tomorrow, grilling and chilling. Spoiler alert: we're about to get into the 4th of July holiday a little bit later on in the segment of the Narrative Podcast. But welcome to the Narrative Podcast. Welcome all my narrators. How's everybody's week been so far? Good, I hope. And we're about to dive into the content. So people unfamiliar with my podcast, what I do is give you a brief overview before diving into the content. This is a weekday edition of the Narrative Podcast. I've been on a quest to try to do more weekday uploads to kind of combat all this negative stuff that's been floating around. So I wanted to try to make my presence more pronounced during the weekday with my podcast, but life been lifing and I haven't had the free time to do it. So but thankfully I'm here this evening and got some pretty good content this evening, and going to keep working on it, try to make my presence more pronounced during the weekday, try to do more uploads during the weekday. And going to keep it just want to keep this pumping and jumping. So without any further ado, I'm going to dive into the synopsis of the Narrative Podcast before diving into the content this evening. So let's start at the top. Tippy, the name. The Narrative Podcast. I named my podcast the Narrative Podcast because I don't like the false narrative that the media weaves about original people and original people culture. I get into the original people part a little bit later, but let's focus on why I'm doing this. So basically I came up with this podcast to counter the media's intentional false representation of our people and our culture. They intentionally misrepresent us. They intentionally use our images and our likenesses in a negative way to promote who we are as a people, to line up with their agenda. And a little bit more about what their agenda is a little bit later on in the segment, but essentially that's my mission statement. That's why I started doing this podcast, is to build a platform where I'm showcasing and highlighting our people in a positive light. And I think that's a perfect segue for my tagline. The Narrative Podcast, changing the narrative one episode at a time by destroying negative stereotypes about original people and original people culture. How do I destroy the negative stereotypes about our people and our culture? By providing positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. Hence the title, The Narrative Podcast. Also here on this podcast, it's dedicated to bringing awareness to all listeners, to the listening audience, of why it's important to utilize your platforms intelligently to educate people about our people and our culture. And why, when I say our people and our culture, I'm referring to original people, aka black people, African American, Negro, whatever you want to refer to us as, our people. So, and the reason why we should do that is because, like I said, the media just puts out negative frames of reference about our people and our culture. So, people outside of our culture, all they have to go, to gauge us by is these frames of reference that they're giving. They're giving negative frames of reference about our people and our culture in music, in television, and all forms of media like music, television, movies, advertisements, literature, you name it. There's not too many sources that showcase and highlight our people in a positive light. So therefore, you have to utilize your platform to kind of just enlighten people. Just want to make one quick disclaimer. This podcast isn't about caring what people outside of our culture think about us. It's not about trying to educate people outside of our culture, about our people and our culture. This is about, basically setting the record straight. If you want to tell our story, tell it correctly. Tell about our true origin, our true nature, and our true origin and our true nature. Who are we? We're kings and queens, gods and goddesses of the universe who was here first, and everything came from our lineage. So, every thing in the modern world is an indirect end result of our existence. So that's the scope we should always be focusing on. That's how we should always be represented. That's how we should always be acknowledged as a people. Not how we're acknowledged in the media. They always play up our worst qualities. They always catch us in ultra rare form. They promote, propagate, and generate negative stereotypes and stigmas about our people and our culture. So, that's why I try to put that message out, that we should be sharing positive frames of reference about our people and our culture as often as possible. Which brings me to my next point, why I refer to my listening audience as my narrators. So I call my listening audience my narrators because that's a term kind of reflective of the age that we're living in. We're living in the digital information age. We can access information at the touch of a finger. People communicate, digitally. There's almost like every type of social media network has a bio section. And in this bio section, you let who's ever viewing your content, know a little bit about yourself. And when when you make out your bio and when you upload your content, you want to intentionally put out, the best possible representation of yourself. There's not too many people online these days that intentionally, promotes themselves in a negative way. There's not too many people intentionally being miserable online. It's a few, but the few doesn't speak for the majority. There's a few people that get online just to boo-hoo and complain and be like, woe is me, and like, oh, I lost my job, pray for me. Oh, I'm going to surgery, pray for me. It's a whole lot of people to do that online. But primarily, the majority people, they get online, they want to put out the best versions of themselves as possible. They want to convey that they're living their best life. They have the most money. They're living in a nice house. They live an exciting life. They're jet setting. They're always going on vacay. They're rubbing elbows with celebrities. They engage in sports activities. They hooping. They playing football. They're doing something fun. They're eating at a fancy restaurant. They're, doing something positive, something that, reflects a good, opulent life. So they're essentially telling or narrating their own story. You see? That's why I call my target listening audience my narrators, because as a people, we should be telling or narrating our own stories. We should be sharing the best possible versions of ourselves as possible, because the media is always putting out the worst possible version of our people and our culture. You see, that's why I call my target listening audience my narrators. Because if history hasn't taught us anything, it's taught us this. If you don't tell your own story, your story will be told for you. So we should be intentional online. We should be telling our own story online. And what is our own story? Our own story, who we are by nature as a people, kings and queens, gods and goddesses of the universe. We should be sharing that we're a dutiful people, that we, navigate through life with a sense of urgency, that we are nurturers by nature. We take care of things. We take care of our children. We take care of our elderly. We respect each other. We have mutual respect for one another. Men respect, in our community, the men respect women and the women respect men. That's the story we should be telling about our people. That we're united. We can, when we do disagree, we can settle our disputes in a civil manner. We can do it without the name calling. We can have disagreements without name calling and dragging each other up and down social media. We should be telling the best version, telling the world, the best possible version of ourselves as possible. That's why I call my target listening audience my narrators. As a narrator, when you listen to this show, you're tasked with the duty of telling or narrating our story on your platform. Now, I'm not the content police. You're grown men and grown women. You can post whatever you like on your platform. whatever platform whatever platform you occupy. But just know, whatever you post, whatever you put out in the universe, unfortunately, this digital media stuff, it's a double-edged sword. Whatever you post, you're bound to it. People associate you as an individual by the type of content that you post. So if you post, something narcissistic, oh, you're a narcissist. And you might not even directly agree with that. You might just be posting something and be like, here, look at this. But people, think, that's your personality. So you got to be careful about what you share online and how you share it. But anyway, that's essentially why I call my target listening audience my narrators. Next order of business, this is a time-sensitive platform. I try not to exceed 1 hour per broadcast. And the purpose of me doing that is to engage my listening audience. This is an all audio platform. Last thing I want to do is, bore my listening audience to sleep. I want to keep you engaged with the content, interacting with me, attentive, and interested. So I don't want to go down rabbit holes. I don't want to, beat you over the head with the message. I want to keep it short and sweet and to the point. I broadcast 2 times a week. Now during the weekday, I'm shooting for like 45. So I really try not to exceed 45 minutes on the weekday. I really want to just bye. But when you get to talking, it kind of don't play out like that all the time. So, but I definitely don't want to exceed 1 hour per broadcast. And if I do exceed an hour per broadcast, it's not by much. And maybe it's like by 30 minutes max. But anyway, yeah, so I try to keep it short, sweet, to the point. I also want to engage all intellect levels. I want to get with, the people on the highest frequency, the middle, and, even the lower register. I want to be hitting all cylinders. So that's kind of my goal as far as engaging the listening audience. So last but not least, kind of jumped ahead. Next, this is a positive space. I don't engage in any negativity, any name calling. It's a gossip-free zone. I don't go with the gossip. I really try to, I'm anti-gossip. I really try to get people to not go with the vloggers, and I try not to get caught up in that whole little thing. But as a content creator, you have to address current topics. But just know, when I address a current topic, it's never to clout chase. It's definitely not to put a brother or sister down. This is to kind of just, frame it up, whatever's going on in the world from our perspective. Whatever's going on in the world, I'm just giving an overview of whatever's going on in the world from our perspective, whether it be globally, whether it be nationally, or just something, a current issue, breaking news in our community. And the purpose of me doing that, for a couple reasons. One is to control the narrative, because like I said earlier, if you don't tell your own story will be told for you, and the media kind of goes out of their way to tell the worst possible version of our story they possibly can to, stay in stride with their agenda, which is primarily to make money, but the other agenda is to keep, those in power by using propaganda. And who is in power? Who are the powers that be? Powers that be are, elite society, the higher echelon, aka wealthy white people. And they control the media. Like I said, they control the media as a form of, mind control or psychological warfare, if you will, because they want to be the face of sophistication, the face of progression, the face of refinement, the face of elegance, and all things fancy. So it's like, they want to be the face of financial wealth, basically. And they want to posture themselves as better than everybody else. Like, because they want to promote, life in excess, capitalism, just buying stuff just to buy stuff, not even with any real purpose other than to prove you're financially wealthy. This is why the elite society often surrounds themselves with status symbols to prove that they are elite, such as mansions, such as, yachts, and, all this stuff that you can't take with you when you leave this physical plane. And, that's kind of what they base their entire existence around. It's just like the air quotes, the best life has to offer. And they want to sell everybody else that, status symbols define you. You are the designer clothes. Like, if you don't have designer, like, what are you doing? If you're not driving a foreign car, what are you doing? If you don't own an estate or a villa, like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? That's what they want to project and promote to the rest of the world. Like, this is where it's at. We're the cool kid table and everybody else is crumb bums underneath us. They do it to everybody. They do it to everybody who isn't earning an upwards to 5 or 6 figures or better, and definitely white in addition to that. Like, so for all the people in our community that think because they get invited to these elite class parties and soirees, the gotcha is they'll never be elite because they're not white. You might rub elbows with them, you might do some business with them, but you'll never be officially elite in the elite club. You'll never be in the elite class. You might be in the elite tax bracket, but you will never be in elite class because it wasn't intended for you to be elite. You know what I'm saying? But we go for the banana in the tailpipe all the time. We are brainwashed and conditioned to think once we ascend to that level of wealth, we can buy our way out of it. But we can't. But anyway, I'm kind of getting off putting. The point that I want to make about the elite class is they, they single out everybody and they try to make this doting, omnipotent presence over everybody. Like, they're the ish, and nobody's anything compared to them. You know what I mean? But out of everybody they do it to our people the most because they fear our people the most. And the reason why they fear us the most out of everybody in the world is because we are the most impactful, influential people. Everybody follows our lead, tries to be like us, try to talk like us, try to act like us, dance like us, dress like us, cook like us. This isn't an exaggeration. This is just fact. This ain't saying we're better than anybody, but everybody tries to emulate us to some capacity. And, not only that, out of everybody on the planet, we are the most, connected to nature, meaning we don't need, these material things that they value and they worship. We don't need these status symbols to define us. We never needed that. We're just impactful, influential without them. Everybody tries to, be like us without designer, without living in mansions and stuff. Everybody tries to talk like us. We are the, we're the gate. We can't gatekeep much, but the one thing we can gatekeep, like we are, the curators and keepers of cool. Nothing's cool unless we put our stamp on it. If we're doing it, everybody wants to do it. And they know that. And so us being closer to nature, us, not worshiping these status symbols, a few of us have gotten brainwashed into doing it, but for the majority of us, like, hey, I don't need this to define who I am. I'm not going to go out here and spend $1,000 on a shirt just because I got $1,000. I'm not going to spend $100,000 on a car just because I got $100,000. I'm not going to spend 1.3 whatever on a mansion because I got 1.3 to spend. Like, we make it make sense. Like, you know what I mean? But in the elite class, they want to program and condition everybody to just live life in excess, and that's how they want to program and condition everyone else. And that's the reason why they single our people out the most, is because they're natural historians. They're aware of their history and they're aware of ours. They know how they came into power, how they acquired their systemic power. They know how they acquire their financial, standings. And it all leads back to us. If there never was a us, there would never be a them. And they know this. And, an even bigger fear of that than us influencing the rest of the world into, waking their, opening everybody's eyes to see that you don't have to live like them in order to be happy, is that, we'll put our differences aside as a people, unite as a people, and reclaim everything that they took from us and are currently taking from us, and do to them what they've done and are currently doing to us. That's their biggest fear. We represent their power being usurped. They know they're in power and they don't want their power usurped. So I kind of went down a rabbit hole with that, but I was just trying to establish my base of why I'm doing this. So I think I was starting off as the saying, this is a positive space. I don't drag brothers and sisters. I don't, go with the gossip. Pretty much everything I cover on this platform comes from the perspective of why. So if I bring a brother or sister's name up, the overlying point, I'm like, I frame it up from the bigger picture perspective. And the bigger picture always goes back to systemic programming and conditioning. So like the negative things that happen in our community, the flare-ups, the controversy we have with one another can all be traced back to systemic programming and conditioning. We're systemically programmed and conditioned to behave in a negative way. We're systemically programmed and conditioned to not get along with each other. We trigger each other. We've been systemically programmed and conditioned to trigger negative things within one another. We look at, it used to be a time when we looked at our brother and sister with love. All for one, one for all. It used to be a time when it was like that. Now it's like, we shooting the side eye. You don't even know this brother. You don't even know this sister. We walk into a room, we shooting side eyes at each other. Because we've been programmed and conditioned to do that. So like when crime happens in our neighborhood, when, some type of violence or some type of, aggression happens, when one of us is being overly aggressive with another one of us, when the fight or flight kicks in, it all goes back to systemic programming and conditioning. They I already told you, they're doing it with the music, they're doing it with the television, they're doing it with the literature. They know what they're doing when they intentionally misappropriate our people, when they intentionally corrupt our images and our likenesses. And what I mean by that, they're pushing gangbang culture, they're pushing, violence, they're making it, they're glorifying guns, they're glorifying being a thug, they're glorifying being a criminal, being a drug dealer, being a drug user. They're systemically programming and conditioning us. That's just on the men's side. On the women's side, they're programming our women to be whores and thoughts. Keep on pushing, that false narrative that all sisters got attitudes, or all sisters are overly aggressive. All sisters are mean. You know what I mean? All sisters, what's their favorite one? They're angry. They push the angry black woman stereotype. So, anything I cover in any type of current event that I cover or speak on or deliver commentary on, it's coming from that perspective. Never to put down a brother or sister or, drag them through the mud. Now, however, the exception here is this is a place of truth. I don't sugarcoat nothing. I tell it how it is. And if a brother, I feel, in my opinion, is intentionally misrepresenting our people for monetary gain, would they know they're doing something wrong, would they know they're intentionally playing into a negative stereotype just to get, to get some clicks, if they're a content creator, to check a bag or whatever, then I will call said individual out. But other than that, I don't say nobody's name. I don't name drop or nothing like that. I do tell the truth on here, though. So the truth is the truth. And, some people's going to get their feelings hurt by the truth. Some people's going to get mad when you tell the truth. Some people's going to get their feelings hurt with the truth. But I tell the truth on here. So last order of business is, of course, you've been hearing me say it over and over again, original people. I refer to our people as original people, and our people, I mean black people. I refer to us as original people primarily for two reasons. Number one is it's historically accurate, and the second reason is it unifies us as a people. So on the historically accurate part of it, we were and are the original beings of this planet. We came here first. We inhabited every single part of the world you can think of. There's 7 continents. We was on all of them. We was indigenously located everywhere. And then the second being that we were the original indigenous people of this planet, being that we were located everywhere. There are many different types of us. We speak different languages. We, believe in different religions, spiritual practices, have different perspectives in life, support different politics, ideologies, cultural differences, you name it, anything that separated people, we got that in our community. But the one thing that we have in common is that we're original people. Wherever we're geographically located at, we can all trace our lineage back to the original point of origin for all civilization, and then we also possess another common bond. We also have large concentration of the life force energy, carbon, aka melanin. So we're bonded like that. So that's what, that's why I call our people original people, to unify us and to, just acknowledge that we were here first. And everything came from us. Like, we mothered and fathered civilization. Everything can be traced back to us. Especially here in America. They wanted, in the Industrial Revolution, they give all this credit to people that didn't invent anything. When you do the knowledge, when you go back, this is why they invented the patent system. Pretty much everything in America was built and invented by slaves. And then something I kind of point out every episode, if you're a narrator, I gotta, always cover a little sub-point, a false narrative that keeps on getting perpetuated about our people. They want to keep on trying to make slavery the most quintessential part of our history. And it wasn't. We had a whole existence before slavery. And like I said previously, we are the original indigenous inhabitants of this physical plane. We inhabited every single continent on the globe you can name. We was already there. There was a large concentration of us already there, existing long before slavery, long before any slave boat was ever constructed. Especially here in the Americas, the majority of us already existed here. That's just a fallacy. While some of us did in fact come over here on slave boats, the transatlantic slave trade was real. The route was real, but the time frame and then just other physical aspects of it is just false. It didn't go on for as long as it's chronicled. Our involvement in it was minute. They always want to throw out, well, black people owned slaves. It was more like, on our end of it, we had tribal wars. Those that participated, air quotes, participated in it, it was more like tribal war, and they took prisoners of war, and it was an indentured servitude type thing, not just selling slaves. Like, they had an expiration date. They didn't hold them and then wait for them to have babies and then hold the babies and then whip the babies and make them live in subhuman conditions. It wasn't none of that. That was only y'all filthy beasts that did that. But like I said, the majority of us living here in the Americas, we was already indigenously located here. So when they speak of, what was done to the air quote Native American, that was really us. Like, if you read Christopher Columbus's journal, if you read Miles Standish's journal, they talking about us. We are the original indigenous natives of this land. Not all these other fake tribes, the Hopi and the Navajo, and none of them. It's like, you got to trace our lineage. You got to go all the way back to the Carolinas, all the way back to the Delta. We was already here. But anyway, I digress. I can come up with even more facts than that. Works cited facts at that. So I'm not just talking out of my backside. But I just wanted to point out that little false narrative that keeps on getting perpetuated about our people, about slavery being the most poignant, relevant, part of our existence. But anyway, so this is a weekday edition of the Narrator Podcast. I'm going to jump into the content. I think I covered all my bases. If I left anything out, I'm over 300 episodes in. You can kind of fill in the blanks if you're still a little hazy about what I do on this platform. This is a weekday edition. So what I tend to do on the weekday editions of the Narrator Podcast, I cover positive news articles, and then I deliver commentary. The reason why I deliver positive news articles, well, is to stay in stride with my mission statement, which is to share positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. So the reason I feel I need to share positive news articles, again, to to kind of fight against the systemic programming and conditioning, because they're using the media to try to basically make it seem like nothing positive happens in our community. So they want to keep on ramming negative stuff down our throats 24/7, every single day. It's like somebody's, getting incarcerated. Somebody's, living well on, either at the poverty line or well underneath the poverty line. They're always pushing and promoting us disenfranchised, pushing and promoting us living in poverty, living in committing violence against one another. They keep on pushing and promoting us being ignorant, being overly loud, overly boisterous, obnoxious, degenerate, acting in a degenerate type nature. So, that's why I do the positive news articles, just to put out the positive frame of reference that we We excel academically. We are a dutiful people. We have, entrepreneurs. We have people giving back to the community, providing solutions to the systemic problems that's created by the powers that be in concern to our people. People that's leading the charge, people that's rising in the face of adversity, making it, defying the odds, and basically being the antithesis of how we're portrayed by the media. So that's why I do the positive news articles. And then when I deliver my commentary, as I stated earlier, I deliver the commentary to basically take back the power, or control the narrative, as the media have us looking and sounding crazy. So I'm delivering commentary on current events. This is just me breaking it down, making it digestible, what's going on in this situation, how systemic programming and conditioning played a role in this negative thing that happened, whether it's globally, nationally, or just something out of our community. How does this affect us from, our perspective? I unpack it like that when I'm delivering commentary. And like I said, if I ever talk about, somebody's name, somebody famous, it's never to clout chase or bash. It's basically to illustrate a point that I'm trying to make, to cement and illustrate a point that I'm trying to make. And the point that I'm always trying to make, what I try to link everything back to when I'm breaking down something that happened, especially something negative that happened, in our world, is just basically to link it back to systemic programming and conditioning. So, but anyway, up first on this weekday edition of the Narrator Podcast, with my very first article. I'm super light with the articles tonight because it is 4th of July weekend. We popping off the works. I know people right now at a cookout right now. Saturday they're going to be, having cookouts and still popping off the works. Sunday they're going to have cookouts, popping off the fireworks. So 4th of July is going to be off the rack. I mean, the 4th was Thursday. It's Friday, but it's going to go all the way up until Sunday. But anyway. The first article this evening on the Narrator Podcast weekday edition, the headline reads, 17-year-old black teen from Texas selling watermelon to pay for his college tuition. And the young brother's name is Kenny Miller. He is a Rusk County, Texas native and a Henderson High senior. So he got the idea. Being in Texas, there's a little town close to where, Russell County called Grapeland. And Grapeland is infamous for their watermelon. So that's a big industry in Grapeland. And then just a quick factoid about us and watermelon. Another stereotype that got propagated by the powers that be. This is when they started corrupting our images and our likenesses way before the internet, way before radio, way before television. They did it all the way back. All they had was like newspapers back in the day, and basically how our images and our likenesses got corrupted, far as us liking watermelon is basically like, some of us the very few of us that did come over here on the slave boats, they came over here with ancestral knowledge of, how to cultivate the melon. Because the watermelon was originally, in Africa. They brought the seeds over here. For the few of us that did come over here, the majority of us was already here. But, that's a whole nother debate where here really was. But anyway, so as the legend goes, like, we had the divine knowledge to properly cultivate watermelon, who was dominating in, that industry. Like, we grew watermelon the best in the world. We had the most plump, sweet watermelons. Everybody went to buy our watermelons, and, white people couldn't figure out, our secret. How do we know how to, grow watermelon? So essentially we was dominating that industry, and they couldn't cash in on it. And so what they did is they weaponized the media to come up with distorted images and likenesses, up with the watermelon. They would have, that's where the super dark skin and the big pale lips comes from. If you go back and look at these old cartoons, it's always somebody dark skinned with pale lips eating watermelon. They go like in the cartoons, they would have the little cartoon character just chopping down on the watermelon and spitting the seeds out, like with the little machine gun sound effect with the like that, but it was the big pale lips. And basically they tried to say anybody that enjoys, eating watermelon, they got the characteristics of a Negro. They lazy, they were often, like in the cartoons, played a little banjo music when somebody was enjoying watermelon. And so it was a very divisive campaign that they tried to incorporate to basically halt the production of watermelon coming out of our community. When, basically they try to dig into our self-esteem, make us not want to enjoy watermelon in public and feel bad about, enjoying something with all those health benefits. It's rich in lycopene. It's good for the hair, skin, and nails. Good for your digestive system. Like, watermelon has so many health benefits, but they try to really make us feel bad about knowing how to cultivate watermelon. And that's where that negative stereotype comes from. But anyway, so back to this young man's story. I got a little off track, but his dream is to become an executive producer of film. Oh yeah, and also I kind of jumped ahead of myself. So Grapeland is the capital of East Texas. So he's in Russ County. So that's not too far from there, but yeah. So young Kenny Miller, that's his dream, to become an executive Hollywood film producer. He wants to do it on the big screen, and he wants to do small screen, like, 2B production. He has a realistic mindset with it. He wouldn't be too versed as to do a 2B. Like, a lot of people knock 2B, but like, when you think about it, I don't know if you all remember Cold Black, or remember the Cold Black era. That was kind of the precursor of the 2B movie. So while low in production, you can produce a whole lot of movies. as long as they have a pretty good storyline and somewhat of gifted actors and actresses, somewhat like if you have at least one recognizable name in like a Tubi movie, you good. Like if you got like 2 or 3 B-listers or D-listers, like it's all right. It's not as bad as everybody be trying to make it, but you know, independence over mainstream, because they're not going to recognize your talent. They're not going to get your culture. They're going to try to like play up the stereotypes. So, you know, Tubi's not really all that bad, and I think that's, you know, where we need to go anyway, as far as like owning our own brands, streaming and all that. So he got it at an early age. He wants to be, you know, making a change. He wants to be on the creative side of it. So that's it for his story. I told you that was super short and to the point. I kind of, you know, went down, kind of got a little long-winded, but essentially this young man, he was selling watermelon to finance his aspirations to go to college, and he wants to go to a HBCU. He wants to go to Texas A&M. So, you know, he got options on the table, and he's well on his way. He's not, you know, I'm pretty sure he'll get a couple of scholarships here and there, but, you know, he's paying his own way, cultivating something that comes from the earth, you know, getting help from the ancestors. So, you know, his path is, his trajectory path in life is pretty much laid. So join me into giving young Kennedy Miller of Russ County, Texas, a warm narrative podcast round of applause. All right, moving right on along. Next article on the weekday edition of the Narrator Podcast, the headline reads, 17-year-old entrepreneur launched his own sneaker brand from his mom's garage. And the name of his brand is called Dapper Shoes. That's D-A-P-P-E-R, Shoes, S-H-O-O-Z, not S-H-O-E-S. He started promoting his brand in 2021. And this young brother is Nigerian, so forgive me for mispronouncing his name. I'm going to do my best, y'all. I'm going to do my best. Okay, it's Walanag Mati. U-T-W-A-N-A-G, capital M, lowercase n, E-T-I. So if you can pronounce it good, I cannot. Yeah. The name of his website is dappersa.co.za. And his mission statement is to inspire young African entrepreneurs to start their own businesses and create a positive impact in their community, and also to provide high quality, stylish sneakers at an affordable price that will reflect African culture. So it's pretty much simplistic. All you got to do is type it in the browser. You got his mission statement. You can see the brands of shoes he has, and it's pretty next level stuff. very affordable. The proof will be in the pudding when you get a pair of his shoes as far as the durability goes. But it can't be any less durable than, like, say, Nike or Puma or Converse. I don't see it being any less durable than those brands. Just by, what I've seen when I went to the website. But go check that out. So that article was super short and brief and to the point. So let's give a warm narrative podcast round of applause for this young, innovative Nigerian young brother whose name I cannot pronounce, and I'm not even going to try. But yeah, the name of his brand is called Dapper Shoes. All right. Keeping it moving right along. The next article on the Narrator Podcast weekday edition, the headline reads, "From Incarceration to Entrepreneur." Very simple, huh? The brother's name is Ed Hennings. Ed was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He was formerly incarcerated. He was locked up on a charge of first-degree homicide, Class A felony. Basically, what happened was, according to his story, he had an altercation in the street. Somebody was being really aggressive towards him. They was going back and forth in the arguments. And basically, he pulled out the hammer and blam, blam. That's how it went down. He got locked up. And by the way, his story is more complex than what I'm saying. But to keep, in stride with my invisible time limit that I set for myself, I'm just going to give you the streamlined version of his story. But you can definitely do your Googles, because this brother is, a motivational speaker as well. And he also has a boot brand. So, yeah. But anyway, serial entrepreneur, he got a whole lot of stuff. But anyway, back to his personal story. He got incarcerated. Became a model prisoner. And then I think, obviously he got him a jailhouse lawyer, look at the dynamics of his case, walked down some time as a trustee, got some months shaved off his sentence as a trustee, and then got him a jailhouse lawyer and just, basically finagled an early parole, got paroled out. Of course, when he got paroled, obviously he could not find work, having that on his jacket, but he didn't let that slow him down. So instead of trying to ask for jobs, he created his own opportunity. He started small. He had his own barber shop. So obviously he learned how to make good use of his time while on the inside. He got, like a lot of prisoners do, that's locked up. They learn how to cut hair. He learned how to cut hair on the inside. When he got outside, opened up his own barber shop. And then after he had his own barber shop, he started making his own apparel, selling it out of the barbershop, and they just kept on, you know, adding dimensions to the space that he already had. And then just kept on platforming from there. He became a motivational speaker. He also got his own brand of beard oil. He's a serial entrepreneur, barbershop, beauty shop. He also got his own trucking business. And he has his own line of boots. And when you go online, you will see his, motivational tale of how he became an entrepreneur on the website of his boot brand. And the name of his boot brand is Ed Hennings Co. That's just what it is, Ed Hennings Co. And it's a complete line. You go to the website in Ed Hennings SCO.com. And when you get there, you will see a picture of him. The types of boots he has, and then a quick little bio, telling, his first job where he was only making $7.25 an hour as a barber. But I think that's a little exaggeration because barbers can set their own prices. But yeah. And he got pretty much an extensive line. It looks more like a work shoe trucker type deal, but I guess New Yorkers, they would call them butters. It looks something similar to Tim's. Very sturdy looking. I would definitely bust these in the winter. Looks like you would get a lot of wear out of them. It looks very constructed, very sturdy. Do man stuff, landscaping in them, yard work. Like alpha male stuff. Y'all betas wouldn't know nothing about that. Scared to get some dirt up underneath your nails. But yeah, so the brother, like I said, he's a motivational speaker. He does TED Talks, serial entrepreneur. He's also an author. He's written books. His biggest selling book is called The 180 Mindset Shift, and I believe that's on Amazon Books. So yeah. Do your Googles on Ed Hennings. Go check him out. He got all kinds of motivational speeches on YouTube. Like I said, serial entrepreneur. He does beard oil. He got his own trucking company, barbershop / beauty shop, non-profit organization. And like he's one of them type of brothers that just ain't no ceiling, and he's coming out with more stuff. He's coming out with more books and more businesses, uplifting and edifying the community, sharing his experience, pushing the message that don't let your current situation be your final destination. Don't accept your circumstances, rise above it. Definitely an eye-opener that there is no excuses. It's you against the world. There is no excuses. Like this brother was incarcerated for murder. So anybody getting out of jail talking about they can't do it, they full of it. It is hard, but it can be done, and he's living proof that it can be done. I know everybody's situation is unique and everybody experiences losses, but if you're drive and determination is great enough. Can't nothing slow you down. And that brother's living proof of it. He's definitely motivation and inspiration to me since I read his story. So, to step my game up and keep on the days I feel like I don't feel like doing it. But anyway, join me in giving Ed Hennings a warm narrative podcast round of applause for his many, many entrepreneurial endeavors. Well, y'all, that's it and that's all for the news articles. It was super light tonight. And then, this has never happened all since I've been doing this. All the stories that I covered this evening was all about brothers. This ain't never happened since I've been doing this. Just every single article that I covered this evening was all brothers, no sisters. And I think it's a special reason why that's never happened, because the reason is the media goes out of its way to keep stories like that from surfacing. You see, every time a brother's in the media, it's in a negative light. We're going off to jail. We're selling drugs. We're engaging in some type of violence. Never nothing positive. So they go the extra mile to dig up negativity about brothers. They want to really tarnish the reputation of black men, the original man. They really want to just make us out to be lower forms of life, the scum of the earth. That's how they got us. They got us abusive in relationships with our women. They got us as, a scourge of society. What did Hillary Clinton call us? Super predators. That's what the image of us that they want to perpetuate. But tonight, I think we changed the narrative. But so now this is the next part of the Narrative Podcast Weekday Edition. My speaking point is just I'm delivering commentary on a few topics and just breaking it down from our perspective. So the first topic I want to talk, I think I already said it, the 4th of July weekend holiday. So many of us are celebrating right now, popping off fireworks, queuing. Some of us gopping down right now on the grill. If you grilled out, you grilled leftovers from the 4th. You reheating the leftovers from the 4th. Or some of us, we intend to grill out, all the 4th of July weekend, because some of us probably, was working on Thursday. All the government offices was closed, but private sector companies, they had to go to work. So a whole lot of private sector employees, vets, tonight's their 4th of July. Tonight and all this weekend. Hospitals, they work on holidays, all holidays, but the 4th of July holiday, in the whole, at what it means, for our people. So this was the Revolutionary War. This is basically the war that defined America. This is, the war where America defended its shores against the British, the colonial British, who, by the way, didn't actively participate in the slave trade. So when they had the African slaves over there, it was more like an indentured servitude thing. There wasn't, whipping slaves like the Americans was doing. So would that have been a necessarily bad thing had they won for us as a people? Because we was forced to fight in that war. As slaves, we was forced to fight in that war. And then we was forced to fight in the Civil War that came, after that, and still didn't get our freedom. And then so fast forward to modern day, here we are celebrating the independence of a country that don't like us, let alone love us. But we sitting up here celebrating, some of us wearing the old glory, posting little Instagram pictures, the red, white, and blue theme, tablecloths, red, white, and blue outfits, red, white, and blue with the stars. Just in this delusional state of support of a country where we can't even get, our own neighborhoods established, our own businesses established. In a country where they don't want us to do nothing. We're just in a state of like, damned if we do, damned if we don't. And the kicker is that they owe us. We built the country. That's the kicker. We built it and we can't, we the Rodney Dangerfields of the world. No respect. No respect. We can't get any respect. Like literally every immigrant that immigrates to the shores of America has zero respect for the American blacks. And had it not been for us building and constructing America, there would be no place for them to immigrate to. And yet when they come over here, they show us such little respect when they really should be bowing down, thanking us for all our contributions to this country. Because they so quick to say, well, my father, he come from the old country, Italy. He don't speak no English. And he got his own business. Asian people, Chinese, Korean, they come over here. We got our own, we got our own, we got our own. We built it, we ain't got nothing. We even get disrespected in our own community from our own brothers and sisters from parts of Africa. Nigerian. Kenyan. Brothers from Mozambique. From the Congo, Somalia, Egypt, coming over here, waving their finger at us. Y'all lazy, y'all lazy. We built this country, we can't be too lazy. From the islands, Trinidad, Jamaica, Barbados. Yeah. Wagging their finger and shaking their head, looking at us. You know what I mean? But we built this country. And ain't nobody, no disrespect. This the part where I tell the truth. Ain't no brothers and sisters nowhere around the world that endured what we endured. Had to suffer what we had to suffer. Not just with slavery, but with the civil rights movement as well. But we celebrating the 4th of July. What is the significance? What is this hold over us that we want to, celebrate holidays that have no meaning, that have no significance, that don't serve us as a people, things that we'll just never be on the inside of. Such as the 4th of July, such as Juneteenth. I already kind of went in on Juneteenth several times. Christmas, Easter coming up. Is Easter coming up? I don't even celebrate them, so I don't even know the order. But the only legit kind of holidays I feel like it's cool for us to celebrate is Memorial Day, because we started Memorial Day. Veterans Day, because we do have veterans that fought in all the wars that need to be acknowledged. And Labor Day, because I do believe we started that as well. I had to do my Googles, but I'm pretty sure we do. I think I read it somewhere. I'm not sure. A long time ago. Yeah, it's one of them things where we just all our sources that come from our libraries, they, works cited that we started it, but other sources say we didn't directly started it. But anytime when the other sources say we didn't directly start something, we directly started something. We started Labor Day. So those are the holidays I feel, we shouldn't feel bad about celebrating. Memorial Day, Veterans Day, Labor Day. Because we started all of them. Pretty much. I mean, Veterans Day is for everybody that fought in the armed services, but Memorial Day, we definitely started that. Definitely Labor Day. So, but all the rest of them is just kind of bull crap. The only other significant greeting card holidays I don't feel too bad about us celebrating is Mother's Day, Father's Day, because you definitely need to show appreciation to your mother. That's the portal into this universe. She needs to be acknowledged at all times, not just on one specific day, but if she had to have a day, I ain't mad at Mother's Day. Even if you don't have a biological mother, a birth mother, a female, an affluent female in your life that gave you some type of positive reinforcement needs to be acknowledged, as well as a male in your life that gave you some type of positive reinforcement growing up needs to be acknowledged that day. It doesn't necessarily have to be your biological father. It could be your uncle. It could be your big brother or whoever. Grandpa. Same deal with the mother. It could be your grandma, because a lot of us was raised by our grandmothers, auntie, big sis, some type of female that gave you positive reinforcement growing up. Those are cool holidays to celebrate. But this 4th of July stuff, this is just like, we're under a spell. We got to sit up here and try to mimic the oppressor. They come up with this white supremacy under the guise of being patriotic, being loyal to America. They equate white supremacy with being patriotic. It's like, how can you love America but then hate the people that built America? It don't make no sense. How can you love America but then hate the people that built America? I'm an American, I'm American, I'm American. But you hate the people that built it? Are you sure you're American? You sure? Because there wouldn't be no American had it not been for our people. You know that, right? You know that, right? So for all my immigrant family, my Irish, my Polish, my Danish, my all the issues, Asian, Italians, Mediterraneans, Greek, you know what I mean? You're welcome. All my own brothers and sisters that immigrate to the shores of America, you're welcome. Enjoy your 4th of July. And just know, while you popping off them fireworks and going to them cookouts, we are the reason why that's possible. And never forget that. Never let it bring out your face, no disdain or disrespect for the America black, the original indigenous people of this land. And that's all I got to really say about the 4th of July. Next, going on, kind of trending, the BET Awards. Not gonna lie, fam. I've been done stopped watching that a long time ago. It was, I don't even know how many BET Awards ago it was. With Lil Nas X, I said, oh no, never again. And I ain't watched it never again. Because it just been an absolute shit show. Pardon my language. I try not to curse on here because I think cursing kind of takes away from what I'm trying to build here. But like I said, I stand on truth on my platform as well. And like every single BET award show since like 2020, since the 2020, it's been an absolute shit show. Like, oh my God, like that's us, this is what we are to the world. No defining moments. Nothing, because like when BET first came out, it really was it embodied the acronym Black Entertainment Television. You can be from our community and find entertainment without feeling degraded. You can actually find programming on BT that you can connect with and not feel immediately dirty after watching it. But not since 2020. Since 2020, it's just been one cringe after another cringe, after another cringe, after another cringe. It's been cringy ever since 2020. It's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Every time you tune in to watch BET. But this year, I will say, this year was the exception to the rule. I will say shout out to Mrs. Taraji P. Henson for bringing some social awareness, some much needed social awareness to the platform. And that's kind of where it stops. Because like every single female artist, like what the freak is that? What is that a stat quo now? Why you gotta show your butt naked ass on stage and twerk your butt cheeks, clap your butt cheeks? Why every single last female like artist got to get up on stage and clap her butt cheeks in front of thousands? Like, what are we saying here? Why you gotta lay on your back and spread your vajayjay in front of the world? It's a time and a place for everything, and that's not the time and the place for none of that. And I ain't going hard in the paint on sisters, on brothers too. Like, you need to pull them pants up, sagging to your kneecaps. And some of y'all don't even be having fresh drawers on, be having Hershey streaks. You know? So it's like, it used to be a once upon a time where BT meant decorum and dignity. Used to feel good watching it. But like, you know, like I said, Taraji's message on the BET Awards, you know, how she came out, it's about us, it's about us. I feel that. I felt like the last time when she hosted, they set her up. It was a big setup, talking about doing it for the culture. I don't remember what year that was, where "It's for the culture" was the tagline, and you know, that night it was an absolute shit show. But you know, since then, I felt like she kind of took the reins and kind of, you know, redeemed BET to some small capacity. Because, like, you know, it ain't her network. She was just given a small little opportunity, and she ran with it and put the focus where the focus needed to be. So, salute her for that. Now, what her message was basically she was talking about Project 2025, which is like some pretty gotcha legislation. It's like close to 1,000 articles in the legislation, but the particular piece of that legislation that she was pointing out was the clause where there was, you know, talking about being homeless. And if you're a Narrative podcast listener, you know, just a few episodes ago, I talked about, you know, the House passing legislation that's kind of indicative of the Jim Crow era. And if you don't remember what the Jim Crow era was basically like, it's They was making it a crime to be poor. Essentially, like, that's why they even invented mass incarceration, was to lock up the poor. They released us out of slavery, but the gotcha was, oh yeah, now we're going to lock you up for not having the financial means to purchase farmland, till the farm, and buy the supplies needed to, share crop. So now you got to go to jail for not having nothing. And so now we're re-insurrecting laws reflective of the Jim Crow era. And history can and does repeat itself. So also in that era, we had a little law called, reckless eyeballing. There was a time where, people from our community couldn't give a white person eye contact. We had to look at the ground. We couldn't speak above a whisper. And we still can't, because slavery never been abolished. And any 9-to-5er can attest to that. Because when you're trying to, assert your opinion or your perspective on something, when you're talking to an employer or a higher up, the first thing they'll say is you're being aggressive. And then ask you why you yelling. You know what I mean? So, it ain't went nowhere. It just took a different form. But yeah, she was particularly talking about Project 2025, and that, those articles, within those articles of legislation, they was like having it essentially being targeted towards the homeless and, our people. There's a whole lot of our people that would be susceptible to this law, because a whole lot of our people are homeless. Primarily because we don't have our own communities. We don't have, when we integrated, we lost a lot. They finessed us into integrating. We had our own movie theaters. We had our own laundromats. We had our own communities. We had our own churches within our community. The church used to be the cornerstone of the community. Like the church, the black church, used to be the internet before the internet. You needed something, you went to church. Like you needed a new car, somebody to fix the car you had. They say that in the church announcements and be like, oh yeah, and then they had respective people from the community in the church, business owners. I need help if you're looking for a job at my shop. I need help at the restaurant. I need help at the bank. We had institutions where we could take care of ourselves. And so when we integrated, we lost all of that. And they always try to finesse it. Be like, try to put it on the late Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. He wanted us to be together. Yeah, he did want us to all sit at the proverbial seat of brotherhood, but he didn't want us to sacrifice having our own financial autonomy. He didn't want us to sacrifice us having our own. He didn't want the integration to come with us having to give up having our own neighborhoods, owning our own houses, having our own infrastructure. So don't keep on letting them do that. Spin the conversation like that. Because it's all right. Like if you're into dating outside of your race, I got a whole lot of relatives that are products of, biracial relationships. So I'm not against that. Like, that's your business. Date who you want to date. You know what I mean? Now, personally, I want to date a sister. You know, I want to marry a sister. You know? So, like, that's really kind of all that came with integration, was the ability to, you know, date outside of our race and to openly date outside of our race. That's all we really got out of it. And the goal to be educated, you know, with white people. Drank out the water fountain, which ain't all that now, because, you know, that's how a lot of communicable diseases get passed in the public water fountain. How dirty that is. Like, but essentially that's really all we got. You know, we don't even have lunch counters anymore. So we was fighting to get, you know, serviced at lunch counters, and now there ain't no lunch counters, period. And the few lunch counters that do exist, you trust me and believe me, you don't want to eat there because you already know what type of service you're going to get, and you know you're going to get some actually if you go eat at one of them lunch counters in one of them small hick towns. But yeah, I kind of got off base. Like, that's what she was really speaking about, you know, is them bringing it back to 2025, and then she rounded out saying playing chess is like, you know, it's time for us to play chess, not checkers. So I lock in with her in that respect. We do have to start playing more strategic. We have to take emotions out of it when we're picking our elected officials. We got to, you know, look at policy, what's in it for us. And that don't mean, you know, Biden's the answer. It don't mean Trump's the answer. It don't mean none of them's the answer. What it means is, you know, who's in it, who has the best interest in it for us. Because the current guy, he ain't doing nothing. Kamala Harris, who is supposed to be our sister, she, like, even before the election started, she was like, well, I'm not going to do nothing just, exclusively for the black community. She went out of her way to say that. Like, she didn't even have to say that. You know, you a politician, lie. Like all the rest of the politicians, she went out of her way to say, I'm not going to do nothing just for the black community. She volunteered that information on her own. So, now a lot of people was mad at Donald Trump, talking about they're going to take all the black jobs. But guess what? They keep on bringing up his criminalistic past, but guess what? He's going to the black neighborhoods. He's talking and having the conversations that need to be had. In the Biden administrations, Ice Cube came up with Contract for Black America. Biden administration said, talk to us after the election. And then after the elections, they never delved into the contract with America. No articles of it. None. Not a single article did they consider about Contract with Black America. So they don't want us, the current administrations don't want us to have no tangibles. And they're being super transparent with that they don't want to have us have any tangibles whatsoever. And then also to take away the current tangibles we barely have, the current programs that we barely have that are helping us. They're trying to take those away right now, before the election. Is Trump any better Not too much better. I mean, he's still a scumbag. He's a politician. He's a scumbag, but he's an honest scumbag. As far as scumbags go, I mean, does he deserve all this villainy that he's getting? So again, like she said, we gotta play chess, not check. What you say, chess, not checkers. Like, we gotta think strategic in this whole, political picking type thing, and really do your due diligence on the whole election process. I mean, because quite frankly, neither party is for us. Like, we created the Republican Party. Just if you didn't know, the Republican Party was originally designed for us in mind. So the Democrats ain't never had us in mind ever, but somehow we got finessed into being Democrats. Like, if it would have been left up to the Democrats, they would never would have abolished slavery if they would have had their way. But the independent party, grassroots party, we can't trust none of them. So basically, we got to keep our poker face on and just be shrewd businessmen and businesswomen, and keep out emotions when during the political process, not just in the generals but locally. I know it's super boring and it's not interesting, but we have to know about what's locally happening in our states. We have to educate ourselves what's happening in our states. Not only educate ourselves, but take action and be some type of involved with our school districts, some type of be involved in the cabinet meetings, how the money's getting spent, is any getting funneled into our community. And we definitely above all, we got to mobilize and do for self above all, because we can't trust none of these vultures. That'd be folly to put all our trust in them. We got to trust each other. That's what we got to do. Because this system, it ain't never meant us any good. And like I said, the powers that be, they don't want their power usurped. And our people present the biggest opposition of their power being usurped. Because out of everybody, we've proven time and time again that we are the ones, if anybody's going to rise up and overthrow the unjust, it's our people. We've done it time and time again, all since America has been in existence. And if anybody's going to rise up to resist any unjust acts that this country inflicts on the people, it'll be us. We will be the first to resist. So next order of business. It's not super duper poignant and relevant. It kind of borders on the line of gossip, and I told y'all I don't do gossip, but if I talk about something gossip-ish, it's never from a negative space. This involves brother Rick Ross, Rick Rose, whatever his moniker that he prefers, the rapper. You know, he had an incident in Canada. There's a whole lot of footage circulating. I don't know if he got hit with a drink or punched. So I don't know. I can't see it. You know, the blogs are saying he got punched in the face. I'm not seeing where the dude's fist actually connected to his face. You know, I did see like a little drink, a little cup like in it. I didn't actually see the punch. I watched it. I didn't actually see a punch. If y'all saw a punch, good. I didn't really actually see it. I saw a bunch of people huddled around. I saw some scrambling in all the clips I saw. I saw some scrambling. I actually kind of just like don't even engage stuff like that. I actually try to scroll past, but when it's viral, you can't unsee stuff like that. So since I can't unsee stuff like that, I got to speak on it. And it's in my spirit to speak on it because I think, you know, all the backlash and the kikiing about whatever happened or didn't happen to him, it's like, you know, we be offering each other up to the oppressor. We don't all have to like each other. R.I.P. R.I.P. Rodney King. Rodney King, you know, he was made famous for asking the rhetorical question, can't we all just get along? And the answer to his rhetorical question, no, we can't. That's just human nature. Everybody can't like each other. So this is why the biggest pushback we get in the movement, because we get caught up in emotion. We get caught up in the I don't like you. And it's all right. It's really all right if you don't like somebody. You don't have to pretend to like somebody you don't like. That don't make you less of a brother, a good brother. It don't make you less of a good sister. If you don't like somebody, you don't like somebody. It is what it is. We can't all like each other. We just can't. We can't all just kumbaya, get along. You know, you got your own blood relatives that you really kind of don't want to be around. But I digress. So for whatever reason that people don't like Rick Ross, what we need to start doing is get on code and stay codified. And always, know through whatever the situation, look at the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is a white man got comfortable enough in his own skin to put hands on a brother. That's the bigger picture of what happened in Canada. And Canadians ain't too thrilled about Americans in general, and they do the black people that live in Canada super dirty. So you get this big, super, mega rap star, got all this money and influence and affluence, goes over to Canada, has a back and forth with a guy that shouldn't have even been 10 inches, let alone 10 feet, like 10 feet, let alone within 10 inches of him. So what I'm saying, said all that to say, it was a setup from the get up. And I think the Drake thing, with the back and forth with the Drake, I think that was, I think that was a finesse. I think it was some racial type-ish. He was like, yeah, you and this is, Canada, I'm ripping Canada and da-da-da-da-da. The undertones, I'm getting racial undertones from that. Like how, you know what I mean? How hard in the paint you gonna go for Canada? Because Rick Ross didn't diss Canada, he dissed Drake. He didn't diss Canada, he didn't say F Canada. He was going at back and forth with Drake. So how do you, a white guy, like all them black dudes, people that live in Canada, they wasn't offended enough to like find Rick Ross and put hands on him. But you, a white guy, want to put hands on the brother. Smells racial to me. Because the black people that live in Canada, like, it ain't that crucial. Like, he's a rapper. We in the streets for real. Like, he's an entertainer. That's how the black people took it. So how do you, as a white guy, a guest in the house of hip hop, get so amped up that you go and want to put hands on the entertainer? It's not adding up. And then we sitting up in our community, we giggling and kikiing and like, oh, y'all punched in the face, Rick. Oh, they did Rick dirty. They did Rick dirty. And so, you know, all the people that's giggling, kikiing, they got a history of, you know, having a back and forth with him. But they obviously ain't looking at from that perspective. They looking at it like, well, he shouldn't have been running his mouth. Ha ha ha, that's what he get. Especially, you know, his child's mother. But, you know, I would say the most progressive person that had the most progressive thing to say was, I gotta say, shout out to D1. He put it in perfect perspective. It does need to be a better conflict resolution, you know. And he didn't find it too funny. A whole lot of other, you know, people that had disagreements with Rick Ross, when they got interviewed, they didn't, you know, they said they didn't find nothing too funny about it. They wasn't on the best terms with Rick Ross, but they didn't want to see him, you know, get punched in the face for being a rapper, for being black rapper in Canada. So, like, the only thing I would have to say in that instance, we got to stay on code no matter how you personally feel about a brother or sister. As the old saying goes, if you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. Just say no comment. You know, we can always exercise the no comment options. I think if more celebrities within our community exercise no comment, you know, a lot of hip hop beefs would never exist if they just wouldn't say nothing. But a whole lot of rappers wouldn't be unalive right now had the people just, like, when they got a microphone in front of them, they just, you know, they got to get on 10. You know, some things you do got to talk about. At some stance, you got to stand on your square of truth and, you know, be prepared to deal with whatever consequence comes with it at some point in time. But most of the time, there's an old saying, pardon my language again for cursing, bullshit ain't about nothing. 90% of the hip hop beefs would be bullshit. It don't be, when you strip it down to the bare bones, it don't be about nothing. It's usually a misunderstanding, an artist getting misquoted by a hip hop platform, and then they fan the flames and they milk it until they can't get no more views and clicks out of it. But in this type of situation, man, I feel personally it was like racially motivated. I don't think it had anything with, defending the honor of Canada, defending the soil of Canada. I think it was, I call them white delusionalists, delusional, not white supremacists, because they're delusional if they think they're better than somebody. At the core of it, he tried to use, the Drake beef to get into position to just be able to do something, have a pass to do something to a black guy. So, final word on that is, man, we need to stay codified, stay on code, get out of our fields. If you don't have nothing nice to say about another artist, if you don't like somebody, just don't say nothing. Like especially if you ain't going to say it to their face, because this world is small and people will hop up on you. So if you're not going to keep that same energy when you see them in their face, then don't say nothing at all. But yeah, final word. Let's stay on code. Let's always look at the bigger picture, and whenever possible, our brothers and sisters in entertainment, when they're doing these interviews, when they're going on these podcasts, because the world wants to know how you feel about this person. This person said this, blah blah blah. You do got the right to say, no comment. I don't feel like talking about that. There's a plethora of ways to answer them questions, to deflect them type of questions. Just deflect those type of questions, because y'all know the game. Like the podcasters, the interviewers, they're just trying to, they're trying to stir the pot. No comment is a plausible answer. I don't feel like talking about that. That's a plausible answer. It's an answer. You answered the question. I don't know. I don't care. I don't feel no type of way about it. Whatever, but don't. What I'm saying is, like, don't take the bait. Stop taking the bait. Well, I think I went well over my time limit I set for myself. I had a few more things that I wanted to talk about, but I guess I'll save those topics for tomorrow's edition that'll be uploaded in a few hours from now. I'm thinking probably like 5-ish, 6-ish for the full episode of the Narrative Podcast, but this weekday edition is most definitely done. So join me this weekend for a full edition of the Narrative Podcast. The difference between the weekend edition and the weekday edition is the weekend edition I got it divided into sections. Each section has speaking points, so I think I got like about 4 more sections. Just go through my episode log and you can denote the differences between the weekday and the weekend episodes. I don't really got enough time to break down how they differ, but they're different. The formats are different. The weekend and the weekday formats are different. But anyway, tune in this weekend for a full edition of the Narrative Podcast. This weekday edition of the Narrative Podcast is officially over. Thank you all for listening. The best way to keep up with the most recent episode of the Narrative Podcast is to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm Halsey Allen on YouTube. So subscribe to my YouTube channel and click notification all. You get all the notifications of the latest upload of the Narrative Podcast, wherever you get your podcast information from, as well as following me on X, formerly Twitter, because the platform that I'm currently on uploads automatically to YouTube and Twitter. So you follow me on either of those two mediums, you'll be automatically informed on the latest episode of the Narrative Podcast. Download this episode and our previously recorded episodes of the Narrative Podcast to help me out with those, algorithm clicks, as well as clicking on the heart-shaped like button. There's a heart-shaped like button when you go to the link. Wherever you see the Narrative Podcast link, click on the link. You'll see a heart-shaped like button. Click that. Also, leave me a comment in the comment section wherever you see the link of the Narrative Podcast at, anywhere on the social. And then, of course, share, the link to the Narrative Podcast across any and all digital media platforms. But whatever you do, download. Click the download button. Out of all those options, click the download button. Download all the time, every single time. Download this episode and our previously recorded episodes of the Narrative Podcast. And the best medium to download episodes would be X. So, Halsey Allen on X. You can click the download button when you visit the link on X. That's the most accessible link to get you exclusively right to the podcast is on X. And click that download button. And it's just like a little arrow pointing down. So, make sure you do that. Next order of business is support my book of poetry. I've written a book of poetry titled The Black Card. And The Black Card is a 30-page book of poetry chronicling our existence as a people. It captures, everything positive and everything negative we go through and endure as a people, like all the nuances of our culture, compressed and captured in a 30-page book. It's very creative, witty, and insightful. You're guaranteed to, if you're an original man or an original woman, you're definitely guaranteed to gravitate to this book, and you'll definitely find a poem that will resonate with you, with something that you're going through or something that you have went through as an original man or original woman. And then people who are not, of our culture, this will make an excellent reference tool for you to, learn from. If you have an open, progressive mind and you want to learn more about our people, want to, keep an open mindset to our culture and, all our nuances, to absorb that, you can definitely learn something from it. So go over to poetizer.com to purchase the book. Poetizer.com is a medium for novice writers of all genres, like poetry. Obviously, it's in the name, poetizer.com, but it's also open to people that like to write essays, short stories, and novels, any type of writing, even journal writing. It's more than welcome on poetizer.com. But what this particular community has is a feature which will allow the users that actively participate in this community, to turn their work into a hardcover book, hard or soft cover. Like, they got two options. I opted for the hardcover, but whatever work you share can be turned into a book. And they have a virtual bookstore on that site. So you go over to the bookstore, and then you can peruse all the titles, all the genres of books of the active users in that community. So, like, go over to poetizer.com, look for my book title, The Black Card, inside the poetizer.com's bookstore, and it's written by me, Halzie Allen, Hallzie Allen, and the book is called The Black Card. It'll make a great coffee table read gift, just a relaxation book, reflection book, whatever. It's just a nice, good read. Go head on over to poetizer.com's virtual bookstore and purchase my book, The Black Card, today, or get your black card revoked. And last but not least, check out my personal poetry blog on blogger.com called Halzie's Poetry Corner, and the address for that is www.mrhalziesblogs.com, and the tagline for that is Halzie's Poetry Corner, poetry with a passion, poetry for all occasions. When you read one of them, you will find out just what I mean when I say that. I got a poem on that blog that's legitimately applicable for any type of situation you can think of. I have many poems just specifically for our people, but all my poetry on that blog is 110% relatable. Like, anybody from any cultural, ethnic background can relate to that poetry. It's totally relatable. And the most unique thing about that, the poetry I post on that blog, that all the poems posted on that blog, I wrote spontaneously. Like, I, wrote each poem on that blog spontaneously in the moment. Like, I didn't contemplate, I didn't dwell on the subject matter, what I was going to title each piece, what I was going to write about. I just literally start typing. So that's super, super duper unique, because the poems on that blog are so detailed, so intricate, so intentional seeming. It seems like I wrote them with intention, but I actually didn't. I really just completely emptied my mind and concentrated on nothing. And so, how good those poems are, it's just like you would think that I wrote them down to I pre-wrote them, you know what I mean? Did the whole drafting, editing type thing. I didn't do any of that. I just literally just start writing them. But yeah, go check those poems out on blogger.com at www.mrhalziesblogs.com. And again, the name of my blog is called Halzie's Poetry Corner. To support that, visit the link and share either the link to Halzie's Poetry Corner or a poem featured on Halzie's Poetry Corner across all platforms. And then as well, click the heart-shaped like button Share either the link or a poem featured on Hallzies Poetry Corner blog across all digital platforms. And of course, you can also leave me a comment as well. Yeah, I really would appreciate the comments too. Leave me some feedback. Let me know what you liked about them, what you didn't like about them. You know, talk to me. But yeah, go check out Hallzies Poetry Corner at www.mrhallziesblogs.com. Yeah, check that out today. Support that today. Share them across all digital platforms. Well, this episode of the Narrator Podcast is officially a wrap. Join me this weekend for a full episode of the Narrator Podcast. That's it and that's all. Peace, family. Enjoy your 4th of July weekend. Pop them works. You know, get down with the grilling, you know, grilling and chilling. Have a good time with family, friends, and associates. But just, you know, in your celebration, don't ever get it misconstrued about what this holiday actually means and the significance of it towards our people. And never ever, if you're an American black, ever, you know, allow anybody not of this soil to not fully appreciate our sacrifices. Because if there never was a us, there would have never been a nobody else. Because we built America, and then to all the other immigrants, you wouldn't have a place to immigrate to had it not been for our contributions. So remember that. But definitely, this episode of the Narrator Podcast is officially a wrap. Join me this weekend for a full episode of the Narrator Podcast. Let's stay positive. Let's keep changing the narrative, putting out them positive frames of references about our people and our culture whenever possible. I'm Halsey Allen. I'm changing the narrative one episode at a time. I'm asking you to help me in my cause to change the narrative by becoming a narrator. And while I'm changing the narrative on my end one episode at a time, as a narrator, you can help me change the narrative on your end one social media post at a time. Until next time, Halsey Allen in the Narrator Podcast, signing off, and it's like that.
Listening to the Narrative Podcast with Halsey Allen. The Narrative Podcast is changing the narrative one episode at a time.